right now, Kyle and I are going to get into the matchup that is the AFC West coming up this Sunday. The Los Angeles Chargers against the Kansas City Chiefs. Both teams coming off of disappointing single-digit losses. Obviously, the Chargers are coming off of a loss against the Dallas Cowboys, 20-17. And the Chiefs are coming off of the Sunday night debacle that was the Ravens' victory of 36-35. So, Kyle, I'm just going to straight up pose the question to you. Do you think that the Los Angeles Chargers have a chance at beating the Kansas City Chiefs after both teams are coming off of very, very close games?
No, I think the Kansas City Chiefs are going to handily win this game against the Chargers this upcoming weekend. I just expect that Kansas City is going to bounce back in a major way after taking that really difficult loss to Baltimore last week. And I do think that Patrick Mahomes is going to light it up against LA's defense. I mean, when you look at the stat line from last week with what he had against the Ravens defense, outside of the one interception that he had, he was phenomenal in that Ravens game. 24-31, 343 yards passing, 3 touchdowns. And when I look at the night overall, I don't believe that he was the issue whatsoever. But it was unfortunate to see that when they were moving the ball down the field at the end of the game, when they were only down by 1 point, that Clyde Edwards-Helaire fumbled the ball with about a minute to go left in the game. And it looked like Kansas City, with just maybe like one or two more plays, they would have been in field goal range to potentially win the game on the road against Baltimore. So instead of being 2-0 going into this game, they're currently sitting on 1-1. And I still think by and large, I just have so much more faith in Patrick Mahomes to lead his team than I do Justin Herbert with the Chargers. And that's despite the fact that I think Justin Herbert has had a decent start to this season. He has been able to connect with his wide receivers very well in Keenan Allen, Mike Williams. I mean, these guys, I mean, it's like 1A and 1B when it comes to Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. I mean, Mike Williams is getting more targets than Keenan Allen has through this part of the season. And Keenan Allen, he's just been one of the most consistent wide receivers that the NFL has seen in the last decade or so, whether it's Philip Rivers from a couple years ago, whether it's Justin Herbert right now. Keenan Allen is just consistent from beginning to end, and I fully expect that he's going to be a significant factor in this game for the Chargers. The same will go for Mike Williams as well. But I just think that by and large, when I look at Patrick Mahomes and that offense, I think the connection that he's going to have with Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, even Demarcus Robinson to a certain extent, I just think that they're going to be able to light up that Chargers secondary. And I think that the Kansas City Chiefs are going to have a similar output as far as points go that they had against Baltimore last week. I expected them to put up another 30-point performance against the Chargers, even though that it is a divisional matchup. I just think that that offense kicks it into high gear. They correct the issues that they had from last week with the turnovers, and I do think that they win this game like 38-24. I do think that by and large that the Chiefs offense is going to be able to just put it on the Chargers this year. And when I look at the Chargers, I still think that they're a pretty solid team. It's just that Kansas City is head and shoulders above them as far as just the matchup is concerned, because Patrick Mahomes is that dynamic. And I just don't think that the Chargers defense is going to be able to keep up with Mahomes in this game. So I think that the Chiefs win this game fairly handily, in my opinion.
I'm definitely going to agree. Obviously, I have Kansas City winning. It's kind of funny when you really think about it. There really isn't a matchup that I would say Kansas City doesn't really have an edge over in the NFL outside of a handful of teams, and the majority of them either being in the NFC or this obviously last week being the Ravens. It's always a close matchup with those two teams. So basically, what I have here is Patrick Mahomes is definitely got a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. The defense did allow, I think, 16 points to be just busted wide open in the fourth quarter. And Patrick Mahomes with the interception and then Edwards-Helaire with the fumble just didn't seem to put the Chiefs in good position. And I think that that's going to piss Patrick off. That was the first interception that Patrick has had in his entire career in the month of September. However, I'm not going to sit here and discredit the successful defense that the Chargers have had, obviously holding the high-powered Dallas offense to merely 20 points. Basically 14 points total in offense scored touchdown-wise, and then 2 field goals. But At the end of the day, that was enough to win. Justin Herbert seems to have been settling a little bit more comfortably into the system. Austin Eckler looks great in terms of health. And like I said, that LA defense has looked great with Derwin James, Asante Samuel Jr., and Joey Bosa. We all know that Melvin Ingram was the opposing force on the opposite side, but they seem to be doing just fine without him. And I'm not going to sit here and say it's going to be a blowout that bad. I would say that this could be a 7 to 10 point game if Kansas City continues the miscues. But again, I do lean in favor of Kansas City just solely because they have 15, and that says a whole lot because when you have the best player in the NFL, you're probably going to be favored to win a lot of games in the season. Hopefully, the Chiefs' defense can turn it around. But as Kyle stated, Mike Williams and Keenan Allen are quite the tandem to try to guard. So the Chiefs are going to have to pick their poison. I don't think anybody in their secondary, in terms of man coverage, can really cover the both of them. I think Keenan Allen will probably be doubled, if not shadowed, the majority of this game. So it's going to be up to the big body of Mike Williams to go out there and make a play. And obviously, Jared Cook being the tight end that's coming in to replace Hunter Henry is probably a downgrade. So I would say that once again, they're favorable. The matchup favors Kansas City just because of the targets and the weapons that they have. But I wouldn't be surprised if the game ends up closer. Both teams have a lot to prove. It's a division game, so we all know that they're 10 times fought hard. They're fought 10 times harder. I can't seem to speak full sentences in this segment, but yeah, I got Kansas City winning by about 10 points.
Yeah, I think one thing that I'm going to have to keep in mind when it comes to Kansas City is how effective their defense is going to be. This defense is what I would consider suspect to a certain extent. They gave up 36 points to the Ravens last week. They were in a dogfight against the Browns in the first week of the season. And I will say that Los Angeles has a really good offense. And if they're able to exploit these defensive weaknesses that Kansas City's defense has, specifically in the secondary, I do think that LA can keep this close. But I think what is probably going to end up happening in this game, I think Justin Herbert, he has a tendency to throw the ball in some risky situations. And I do think that Kansas City is going to be able to exploit those mistakes that Justin Herbert makes. And I think they're going to be able to force some turnovers. I do think that Frank Clark will be able to get somewhat of a pass rush against Justin Herbert this week. Is he going to get 5 sacks like Chandler Jones did in week 1 for the Cardinals? Probably not. But it could be enough to unsettle Justin Herbert in his spot a little bit. And when I look at the Chiefs overall, it's just like I said earlier, that offense seems to be humming despite the fact that they lost last week. And when you combine that with what I think the Chiefs defense is going to be able to do despite some of the issues that they have, I think it'll be enough to get them by, and I think they'll be able to win this game in convincing fashion. But
Yeah, biggest
I,
advantage is definitely them in Arrowhead, though. That's going to
but
be huge.
that's true. But I do think that LA is going to keep this game close in the first half, but I think the Chiefs are going to make good adjustments in the second half.
Yeah, couldn't have wrapped that up better myself. But obviously, that's going to wrap up this game. We got one more game coming for you guys, so stay tuned. But as always, if you like the video, please like. If you like the content or love it, please make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell to make sure that you follow up with the content that we post weekly. Again, as always, thank you for everything that you guys have been able to do for us and been able to put out there on each platform. And we'll make sure to wrap this up and see you guys soon.
Yep. See you guys later.